Okay, let's see. For the first time ever on Real Screen Reviews, I had a guest critic on a couple years ago to review a movie, and it was Grown Ups, and the same guest critic is back to review the sequel. So that's actually, I think, kind of cool. Welcome back to my lovely guest critic, Debbie D'Angelo. Thank you for being here. I'm movie critic Nick Iacobucci of RealScreenReviews.com. Thank you for watching. And our next review is going to be Grown Ups 2. This movie opened up in July of 2013, and it stars Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James, and David Spade. Yeah. And it comes to us from writer and director Dennis Dugan. He's also a longtime television actor that's directed many, many films with Adam Sandler, including Happy Gilmore, I Now Pronounce You, Chuck and Larry, Big Daddy, Just Go With It, which we also reviewed. And I said, normally I turn it over to Debbie at this point to tell us a little bit about the movie, but we're going to hang on here for about 10 seconds because we have a clip from how we disagreed on the first Grown Ups adventure. So if you could just...
Hard to believe we disagreed.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. Let's
take a look.
Take a look. Fine, well, I wish you good luck in explaining to the audience what this is about.
Oh, please. Please, are you telling me you didn't like this movie?
This movie is horrific.
It is not.
This movie is terrible.
From start to end, I laughed completely.
Clearly, I'm right. And what did you think of that, Deb? I mean, do you think how we absolutely agreed totally and wholeheartedly on that first one?
I still stand by that first one. I really liked it.
Okay, I'm gonna basically say the same thing to her that I said 3 years ago when we reviewed the first one. I watched the movie. I have no idea what the plot is, so I beg of you to tell us what the plot of this movie is.
Nick, I can't believe it, but I don't have to agree with you.
There is no plot.
I love the first movie. It was goofy, but I felt like at least there was some meaning to it. With this movie, Adam Sandler moves his family back to his hometown because he wants his children to grow up the way he did and, you know, visit their old haunts. And somehow the rest of the gang arrives. I'm not really sure how that happens, minus Rob Schneider, and I'm not really sure what happened to him either.
Did they even explain that?
No, I didn't catch it. And he finds that as much as things are the same, they're different. Right. And it's kind of the way he grew up juxtaposed against modern day society.
That's quite a compliment to this movie. The thing that bothered me the most about this is it's like these scenes came out of nowhere. The guy in the tire.
Yeah, right.
It just happens. There's no reason for this to be happening.
It's very fragmented.
It doesn't connect the dots in any way. Then to add insult to injury, because most of the movie is just so poorly put together and acted, there was one scene I thought that really had potential. It's when the kid was kicking the football.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, there's actually something. And then he breaks his foot. Yeah. And it's like, and they just crapped all over the only part of this hour and a half that I thought was even remotely redeeming.
You know what? There are a lot of funny points to it. I mean, I'm not saying that you won't laugh.
Yeah,
and the audience did laugh.
I agree.
But even though I loved the first one, and I chastised you, I said, oh my gosh, not every movie has to be, you know, a major epic kind of movie.
Dr. Zhivago, I think you said.
I think I did too. This just didn't gel.
No.
Like, you know, as goofy as it was and as funny as it was in parts, I kept waiting for it to come together, pull together, to have a little bit of meaning. Like the last one, I could at least grasp onto a little bit of meaning. I couldn't do that in this one, and I really wanted to.
You know, I was sitting there and I'm watching this movie and I'm saying, you have Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James, and David Spade all in the same movie, and the funniest part of it is Taylor Lautner.
Yeah.
The frat boy kid.
Right.
The handshake thing was hilarious. Every time he was on screen with his cronies, we'll call him, he was hilarious. Then the other guy, the really drunk guy, I must admit, I about cracked up when he pulled the lever and the raft exploded in the department store.
There
was a couple scenes
parts.
actually where I must say that I laughed, but it was just garbage from start to finish.
It was disappointing, especially for all those big names, those major name stars that are in it. You think there should be some thread woven through it that you can hold on to, and it gives you a nice ride through there, but it was just full of holes for me.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you too. I was in the theater, and I'll admit I laughed maybe like a half a dozen times. But the theater was pretty full. I saw it pretty much on opening day, and the theater was pretty full, and people were cracking up, and I thought the film, how many poop jokes, vomit, it's like that was the whole, and I sat there and I'm like, every time I'm watching an Adam Sandler movie, I'm always the one in the theater that's really not laughing, and I'm wondering why everyone else is.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
maybe
first
not
one
in every
was
movie.
juvenile.
Yeah.
But this one was just a little too juvenile for me.
I agree. Well, what is your Debbie's real screen review? How many hearts are you?
Unfortunately, I'm only going to give it 1 heart.
Okay. Well, I am actually going to tie my recommendation with his dad movie from last year. I can't even remember. Maybe I'm just still trying to forget. The one with him and Andy Samberg. But I gave that, That's My Boy. I gave that 0 stars, and I'm giving this one 0 stars.
Wow.
I think there's just nothing redeeming about this film. I don't think anybody should, I don't even think you should rent it. I don't even think you should DVR it if it comes on your DVR, because it's not worth your DVR space.
Well, you know, if you're sitting home drinking beer and eating wings one night,
Maybe.
you know, go right ahead. I think you'll find it hilarious.
But honestly, I think, well, that's pretty poor. If we're saying between us, we're giving it 1 star between us. I guess you can take that as you will, but I think there's just really nothing here. And it sounds like, for as different as we were on the first one.
What was it rated?
It was rated, I believe, PG-13, but I would call it very racy.
Yeah, I don't think I'd take my
PG-13.
child to it. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it was bad. It was on all aspects.
Oh, well.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much for being here.
Sure.
And we're going to be back in just a few moments to review, what are we reviewing? The Heat. The Heat. All right, well, until then, remember, people, we're not always right, but only when it comes to the movies, and thank you for your attention.